Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Talks. Have you ever felt like you were trying so hard to get someone's attention, but they just don't notice you? Like, no matter what you do, how much you care, or how often you reach out, they don't seem to care as much as you do. It's frustrating, isn't it? You're giving all your time, your energy, your love, and yet it feels like they couldn't care less. They go about their life, and you're left feeling like you're not even there. But what if I told you that the real secret to making them want you, to making them crave your presence, isn't about giving more? It's about doing something completely different. What if the answer isn't in trying harder, but in pulling back? Here's the thing. People don't crave what they can easily have. They crave what's scarce, what's hard to get. Think about it. When something is always there, always available, people stop appreciating it. But take it away for just a moment, and suddenly they start to notice. They start to feel the loss. That's exactly what happens in relationships. If you're always available, they'll never miss you. So what do? You step back. You stop being so available. You stop chasing them. Stop being the one who always texts first. Stop waiting anxiously for their call. You create space, and in that space, something powerful happens. They start to wonder. They start to think, why haven't I heard from them? Your absence becomes noticeable, and suddenly, what they took for granted starts to feel like something they miss. And that's when they begin to crave your presence. As Marcus Aurelius said, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. When you stop trying to control how they see you and instead focus on your own worth, you reclaim your power. That's when the shift happens. Imagine this. Instead, you've been giving everything. Always the first to reach out. Always there when they need you. You've become the reliable heartbeat in their life, the steady rhythm they don't even have to think about. But what happens when the rhythm suddenly stops? One day, you don't text, you don't call. There's no message waiting for them in the morning or at night. At first, they might brush it off, thinking they'll reach out soon, like always. But as the hours pass, a subtle unease sets in. They check their phone, but your name isn't there. They go through their day, expecting that usual connection, but it never comes. Then something shifts. That absence starts to feel heavy. They replay your last conversation, wondering what's changed. They scroll through their past messages, realizing just how much they've grown used to your presence. And suddenly, the silence speaks louder than anything else. It's in that quiet space that they begin to miss you, to long for you, to crave the attention they once took for granted. This isn't about toying with someone's emotions. It's about standing in your own worth. You are not a convenience. You're not always on standby. When you step back, you're showing them that your time and attention have value. You're giving them the chance to see what life is like without you always being there. And trust me, that's when they start to understand how much you matter. Picture this. You're like a warm fire in the middle of a cold night. When you're always burning bright, always giving off warmth, people huddle close without thinking about it. They take that heat for granted, assuming it will always be there to comfort them. But if that fire starts to fade, if the warmth begins to disappear, suddenly they feel the cold creeping in. That's when they realize how much they need it. They start doing everything they can to get closer to rekindle the flame. Because without it, the cold is unbearable. You are that fire. When you're constantly available, giving your energy, attention, and affection without hesitation, people start to get comfortable. They assume you'll always be there, giving that warmth. But the moment you pull back, the moment you let your light dim just a little, they'll feel the difference. They'll notice the chill of your absence. Suddenly, they'll understand how much they relied on your warmth, and they'll crave it more than ever. Think of it this way. You deserve to be the fire that people are drawn to, not something they casually sit by when it's convenient. When you take a step back, when you stop giving so much of yourself, they'll start to feel the cold in your absence. And that's when they'll come running back, desperate to feel the warmth you've always given so freely. This is your challenge. Starting today, take a step back. Stop being the one who always reaches out first. Stop waiting for their response. Give yourself space. Let them come to you. And when they do, it'll be because they want you, not because you're always available. And now, here's your affirmation. I am fire. They will crave me. Say it out loud. Write it in the comments. Believe it. You are not someone who needs to chase love or attention. You are the prize. Let them realize that. Let them crave you because of who you are, not because of how much you give. If this video helped you and made you think differently, please hit the like button. And if you want to learn more, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future tips. In this video, you'll learn 7 simple but powerful tips from Stoicism and dark psychology to make someone miss and crave your absence. Join us and let's take this journey to become more confident and irresistible. Be the spark, not the flame. Number 1. Be the spark, not the flame. Have you ever noticed how quickly people lose interest when something is too easy to get? It's like a toy that a child has always wanted. The moment they get it, they're excited at first, but soon enough, they toss it aside, moving on to the next thing. Why? Because what's constantly in front of us, what's always available, loses its shine. Now, what if I told you the same principle applies in relationships? It's not about being there all the time, burning bright for someone, giving them all of you at once. No, it's about being the spark, not the flame. What does that even mean? Being the spark means creating moments of connection, moments that leave them wanting more, but never burning yourself out trying to keep their attention. It's those brief moments of excitement, curiosity, and mystery that pull people in. When you're a spark, you create intrigue. You don't have to give everything right away. Instead, you offer glimpses of who you are, leaving them craving more of your presence. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we shouldn't be swayed by external things or seek constant validation. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In relationships, this translates perfectly. If you're constantly giving, constantly available, the other person's desire for you diminishes. But if you hold back, if you become a rare presence that's valued, you increase your worth in their eyes. Being the spark is about creating that space for them to want more, instead of constantly giving and hoping they'll stay. Now, you might wonder, how is this useful in real life? It's all about creating a shift in the dynamics of your relationships. When you're the flame, always available, always giving, you become predictable. Predictability kills desire. But when you're the spark, showing up in bursts of energy, leaving a bit of mystery, you become unpredictable and exciting. They start to crave your presence, thinking about when they'll see you next, replaying your last interaction in their mind. And that's exactly what you want. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine you're in a relationship, and you're always the one reaching out first, always the one making plans, giving your all in the hope they'll reciprocate. But instead, what happens over time? They start pulling back, becoming distant, and you're left wondering why. The truth is, When you give too much of yourself, you remove the chase. There's no space for them to miss you because you're always there. Being the spark means sometimes pulling back, letting them come to you. Instead of texting them constantly, maybe you wait. Let them be the one wondering why you haven't reached out. That space you create, that's where desire grows. But what if it feels difficult? What if you're afraid that by pulling back, they'll lose interest or move on? Here's the truth. If they don't crave your presence when you're gone, then they were never truly invested to begin with. The right person will want more of you, will notice the spark, and will chase it. It's human nature to want what we can't have easily. So even though it feels hard, trust the process. When you step back and stop giving everything right away, you give them room to crave you. You stop becoming an option and start becoming a priority. Think of it like a firework. A firework doesn't burn all night like a campfire. It bursts into the sky, lighting everything up, capturing everyone's attention. But then, just as quickly as it appeared, it's gone, and people are left wanting to see it again. You need to be that firework, bright and memorable, but not constantly there. They'll crave your next spark because it leaves an impact without giving everything away. Here's how you do it better. Stop giving them all of you right away. Hold something back. Don't feel the need to explain yourself or always be present. Instead, offer moments that are full of energy and connection, but end them before they expect. Leave the conversation while it's still exciting. Walk away from the date when it's still going well. Make them want more. It's in that wanting where the real magic happens. But you need to hear this. This isn't just about playing a role or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about valuing yourself enough to be the one worth craving. Don't burn yourself out by trying to keep their attention constantly. Be confident enough to step back, knowing that your presence, when given sparingly, is more powerful than being constantly in front of them. Now, let me hit you with something hard. What are you waiting for? Why are you still chasing, still giving too much of yourself, when you know deep down it's not working? You deserve to be pursued, to be craved. Stop thinking that by giving more, they'll love you more. It doesn't work that way. People chase what they can't easily have. They will crave you when you stop being the flame that's always burning and start being the spark that lights up their life, then fades just enough to leave them wanting more. Remember, this is just the beginning. This is step one, but we're only scratching the surface. You can't move the needle with just one step. You've got to stick with me till the end. Don't let those thoughts of clicking away take over. Kill them now and accept the challenge. If you want to transform your life, to become the one worth chasing, you need to embrace every step. Drop an affirmation in the comments right now. I am the spark they crave. Let me see you commit to this journey. Stick with me till the end, and together we'll unlock the steps that will make them crave your presence like never before. Number 2. Change the rhythm. Have you ever noticed how predictable patterns can dull even the most exciting relationships? You text at the same time every day, you talk about the same topics, and everything starts to feel routine. There's a comfort in consistency, yes, but over time that comfort can turn into boredom. They begin to expect your messages, your attention, and your presence, which means they stop noticing you as much. You become part of their daily rhythm, just another beat in the background, and they stop craving the spark that you once brought into their life. But what if you could flip that dynamic? What if you could make them miss you, wonder about you, and crave your presence in a way they haven't before? That's where the power of changing the rhythm comes in. Imagine your relationship like a song. If the melody stays the same throughout, it becomes background noise. But when the rhythm changes, when the beat unexpectedly shifts, it grabs attention. It forces the listener to stop, tune in, and pay attention to what's happening. This is exactly what happens when you change your rhythm in a relationship. You shift the dynamic, and suddenly they're not sure what to expect from you. This unpredictability creates an emotional pull. They start craving your presence because they're no longer certain when or how they'll get it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you're always available, when you always follow the same patterns, their thoughts about you become predictable, and in turn, their feelings towards you become neutral. You blend into their routine, and that's when they stop craving your presence. But by changing the rhythm, by switching up how and when you interact, you shift the color of their thoughts. You create new excitement, and suddenly they start thinking about you in a fresh, more intense way. Now, this doesn't mean you have to pull away completely or play mind games. It's about subtle shifts. If you're someone who always texts first, maybe take a step back. Let them initiate the conversation. If you're used to replying immediately, slow down your responses. Changing the rhythm isn't about manipulation. It's about recognizing your value. You are not someone who should be constantly available at their convenience. You are a person with your own life, your own energy, and your own worth. When you stop giving so freely, you create room for them to come to you, to reach out, and to crave the moments they used to take for granted. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. You may be tempted to fall back into old patterns, but remember this: the power is in the shift. Just like a song becomes more beautiful when it has unexpected pauses and changes in tempo, your relationship will gain new life when you alter the rhythm. They will start to miss the beat of your presence, and they'll crave that feeling of not knowing when they'll hear from you next. So take control of the rhythm. Step back when necessary, switch up your timing, and watch how the dynamics start to change. They will crave your presence, not because you're always there, but because they never know when the next spark of your energy will light up their world. You are the rhythm they will want to follow, and in your silence, they will feel the strongest pull. Make them crave you by changing the beat, and watch how they start to chase your presence. Number 3. Be the calm in their storm. In life and relationships, emotions often run wild. There are ups and downs, moments of joy, and waves of stress. It's in those chaotic moments, the storms, when most people tend to react with anxiety, fear, or frustration. But why? What if instead of being swept away by the storm, you could be the calm in it? What if in their moments of chaos, you could be the one person who doesn't add to the mess, but instead offers peace and stability? That's how you become unforgettable. When you're the one who provides calm, they will crave your presence like a lifeline in turbulent waters. Imagine this: everyone around them is reacting, panicking, feeding the storm. If you're always the one planning when to meet, let the plans rest for a while and see if they start missing those moments you used to arrange. These small adjustments create a sense of mystery, and mystery, as we know, is the key to desire. For example, let's say you're in a relationship where you've always been the one to check in every evening. It's become a habit. They expect your message, so when it arrives, they don't think twice about it. But imagine one evening, you don't send that text. Hours go by, and they start wondering where you are, why you haven't reached out. They check their phone, waiting to hear from you. Suddenly, your absence creates a space that wasn't there before. And in that space, they begin to realize how much they miss your presence. That craving starts to build, not because you did something grand, but because you broke the pattern. But what if this feels difficult? It's natural to worry that pulling back or changing the rhythm might push them away. You might fear that if you stop reaching out, they'll stop caring. But here's the truth. When you shift the rhythm, you're not disappearing. You're giving them a chance to step up. You're allowing them to fill the gap, and in doing so, they'll begin to realize how much they value your presence. It's a test of how much they truly crave you. If they don't notice your absence, then perhaps you were giving too much of yourself anyway. But most of the time, they will notice, and they will crave that connection once again. Think of it like the ocean. If the tide always stayed in, the shoreline would never change, never grow. But the magic happens when the tide pulls back. That's when new things are revealed, new treasures are found. By pulling back just a little, you create the same effect in your relationship. You're not abandoning them. You're letting them feel the ebb and flow of your presence. And in that pullback, they'll start noticing the little things they took for granted. But you remain centered, grounded. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what it means to be the calm in their storm. You're not swept up by the external chaos. Instead, you bring your inner peace, your emotional control, and allow them to find refuge in your presence. In a world filled with reactionary people, being the one who can offer serenity is rare, and people crave what's rare. Think about it in a relationship context. Say the person you care about is going through a tough time, work stress, family drama, or personal insecurities. Most people in their life will either add to their stress by complaining or offer weak sympathy. But what if you approached it differently? What if, instead of diving into the chaos with them, you provided a space of calm? You didn't try to fix everything or offer empty words of comfort, but instead, you remained stable like a rock in the middle of a stormy sea. Your presence alone becomes a source of comfort. This is how you create a lasting impact. They will start to associate you with peace, and in moments of stress, they'll crave that peace more than ever. It might feel difficult to stay calm, especially when everything around you is chaotic. It's natural to want to react, to feel the pull of their emotions dragging you in. But here's the trick. The calmer you remain, the more control you have, not just over yourself, but over the situation. By staying grounded, you influence the energy around you. They will feel that calmness radiating from you, and they'll begin to settle down themselves. It's like being the eye of the storm. While everything spins wildly around, the center remains still. That's where your power lies. If you think about it metaphorically, imagine you are like a peaceful lake, and they are a raging storm. The more they stir, the rougher the waters get. But no matter how wild the storm is, the lake eventually returns to its natural state of calm. You are that calm lake, and the more they come back to you, the more they will realize how much they need that calm in their life. The storm can't last forever, but the calmness does. And over time, they will crave that peaceful presence because they'll know they can always count on you to be steady, no matter how intense the storm may be. Now, this doesn't mean you should be emotionless or distant. Being calm in their storm doesn't mean ignoring their struggles or pretending things aren't difficult. It's about being emotionally available in a different way. You listen, you care, but you don't let their chaos pull you off center. You give them the space to express their emotions while showing them that not everything has to be dramatic or intense. You offer peace without saying a word. You become a source of quiet strength. And trust me, when everything around them is falling apart, they'll crave that more than anything else. At times, staying calm might feel like an impossible task, especially when their emotions are overwhelming. But the more you practice emotional control, the easier it becomes. Remember, you are not responsible for their storm, but you can be the one who helps them weather it. The calmer you are, the more they'll start to appreciate your presence as something they can't find anywhere else. And that's when they'll crave you, not because you're fixing their problems, but because you're the one who makes everything feel manageable. So how do you get there? Start by focusing on yourself first. When the storm hits, remind yourself that you can only control your own reactions. Breathe deeply, remain present, and let go of the need to fix or control their emotions. Instead, just be there, offering your calm presence. In doing so, you create a space where they can find peace, and that's something they'll begin to long for. In the end, they will crave your calm because you're not like everyone else. You're not swept up in the drama. You don't react to every wave of emotion. You stand firm, unshaken, and they'll begin to see you as their safe place. Be the calm in their storm, and they'll never want to let go of you. Let them taste freedom. Imagine this. You're holding sand tightly in your fist, squeezing harder and harder, thinking that by gripping it, you'll keep it all in place. But the tighter you hold, the more it slips through your fingers. This is what happens when you try to control or hold on too tightly in relationships. The more pressure you apply, the more the other person feels the need to pull away. People don't crave what is suffocating them. They crave what gives them room to breathe. Let them taste freedom, and that's when they'll start to crave your presence. Stoicism teaches us the importance of detachment and control over our own emotions, not others. As Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." In relationships, this means understanding that you cannot control someone's feelings or actions. The more you try to cling to them, the more you push them away. Freedom is the key to letting someone come to you on their own terms, making them realize what they're missing without feeling forced. Letting someone taste freedom doesn't mean stepping away entirely or acting uninterested. It means giving them the space to miss you, to feel what it's like when you're not constantly there, offering your time and energy. Imagine being with someone 24/7, constantly checking in, constantly being available. There's no space for them to reflect, no room for them to realize the value of your presence. It's the moments of absence, the gaps between interaction, that allow them to feel your significance. When you stop trying to control the situation and allow them the freedom to explore their own feelings, that's when they'll begin to realize how much they crave you. But what if this feels difficult? What if the thought of stepping back fills you with anxiety, worrying that they'll forget about you or move on? That's where you must trust the process. The desire to control comes from fear of losing them, fear of being forgotten. But here's the reality. People crave freedom, not suffocation. If you don't give them room to breathe, they'll never have the opportunity to miss you. Letting them taste freedom isn't about pushing them away. It's about creating space for them to come back to you with a stronger sense of desire. Let's put this in a relationship example. Imagine you're constantly texting, calling, planning everything, and always being the one who initiates. At first, it might feel like you're keeping the connection strong, but over time, they might start to feel overwhelmed, even suffocated. They never get the chance to reach out to you, to miss the moments when you're not around. But what if you pulled back, What if, instead of texting them good morning every day, you skipped a day or two? What if you gave them the freedom to reach out first? At first, they might not notice, but as the silence stretches, they'll start to think, where are they? Why haven't I heard from them? That small taste of freedom can make them realize how much they actually want your attention. This isn't about playing mind games. It's about understanding human nature. People value what's not constantly in front of them. Just like you notice the moon when it appears in the night sky, they'll notice your absence and start craving your presence again. It's about creating a balance, giving them the freedom to miss you, and then making them realize that they want you back in their world. Freedom feels risky, especially if you're someone who thrives on control. But true power lies in the ability to step back and trust your own worth. Let them taste that freedom. Let them see what life is like without your constant attention. And when they come back, it will be because they chose to, not because they felt obligated or pressured. You are worth craving. Your presence is valuable, and when you step back, you allow them the chance to feel the weight of your absence. Let them taste freedom, and they'll come running back, craving the warmth, the care, and the energy that only you provide. Be the lighthouse, not the boat. Have you ever noticed that the more you chase someone, the further they seem to drift away? It's like trying to catch water with your hands. The harder you try to grab it, the quicker it slips through your fingers. But what if the key to making them crave your presence lies not in chasing, but in standing still? This is where the idea of being a lighthouse, not a boat, comes in. Instead of running after someone, hoping they'll notice you, you become the steady presence they naturally gravitate toward. You don't chase them across stormy seas. You simply stand tall, shining your light, and trust that in their own time they will find their way back to you. Being the lighthouse means standing firm in your own worth. You don't need to prove yourself by chasing anyone. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it chasing someone who isn't valuing your presence." Chasing someone who isn't valuing your presence is a waste of your energy. Instead, by being the lighthouse, you show them that your presence is constant and valuable, but not something they can take for granted. They will crave what they know they can't control. Your calm, steady energy becomes a source of comfort they start to miss when the chaos of life surrounds them. Let's consider this in a relationship scenario. When you're in the early stages of trying to get someone's attention, it's easy to feel like you need to be constantly available, reaching out and putting in the effort. But what if, instead of running after them like a boat caught in rough seas, you stepped back and simply allowed them to notice your quiet strength? People are naturally drawn to stability. When everything else in their life is unpredictable, they will crave the person who doesn't waver, who doesn't run after them frantically. You become the calm in their storm, and soon enough, they'll start navigating back toward you, seeking the light you provide. At times, this might feel difficult. You may feel tempted to text, call, or find ways to insert yourself into their life, especially if they seem distant. But remember, the lighthouse never chases the ships. It stands strong, knowing its light is enough to guide them back. This requires patience and a deep belief in your own value. If you keep running after someone, they won't have the chance to feel your absence or realize how much they miss your steady presence. Absence creates desire. By stepping back and letting them come to you, you give them the space to crave you. Let's take a metaphorical example. Picture the ocean, vast, unpredictable, with waves crashing in all directions. Boats, while they may seem adventurous, are constantly battling the current, struggling to find their way. But the lighthouse, it stands still, unbothered by the chaos around it. It doesn't rush into the water trying to fix things for the boats. It simply shines, and in doing so, provides the guidance the boats need. You are the lighthouse. When you stand firm in your own strength, the person you desire will come to appreciate the unwavering calm you bring into their life. In dark psychology, one of the most powerful tactics is to make someone realize what they've lost by not always being available. Being the lighthouse doesn't mean you're cold or distant. It means you're selective with your energy. When you stop chasing and start shining, they will crave the peace and stability you offer. They will come to miss the light you bring when they find themselves surrounded by the unpredictability of life. So, what do you do when it feels hard to hold back? You remember your worth. You remind yourself that you don't need to run after anyone to prove your value. Stand tall like the lighthouse and let them come to you. In the end, they will crave your presence, not because you chase them, but because they will realize you were the only constant in a sea of uncertainty. They will seek out your light, and when they do, it will be because they finally see just how irreplaceable you are. Plant seeds, let them grow. Have you ever noticed how some people effortlessly leave a lasting impression even in the simplest interactions? It's not because they overwhelm you with grand gestures, but because they know how to plant small seeds, seeds of curiosity, connection, and intrigue, and then step back, allowing those seeds to take root in your mind. They understand the power of subtlety, of not giving everything all at once, and how this creates a space for others to crave more. This is the art of planting seeds and letting them grow, and it's one of the most powerful ways to make someone crave your presence. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This Stoic wisdom reminds us that you don't need to constantly seek approval or attention. You don't need to over-explain or overwhelm. Instead, you can be impactful by doing less, by making small but meaningful gestures, and allowing those moments to grow in the other person's mind. When you plant a seed of connection, whether through a thoughtful compliment, a meaningful conversation, or simply by being a calming presence, you create a lasting impact that lingers long after the moment has passed. And that's when they start to crave your presence, not because you're always around, but because the small things you've done continue to echo in their mind. Now, you might be thinking, how does this work in relationships, especially when it feels like I'm not doing enough? The key is patience. Much like planting a real seed, growth doesn't happen overnight. You can't expect someone to crave your presence after just one kind gesture. Instead, plant several seeds over time, a little here, a little there. It might be a compliment that stays with them, a thoughtful gesture that catches them off guard, or a meaningful conversation that makes them see you in a different light. These moments, though small, accumulate and create something much larger in their mind. If you feel like this approach is difficult or doesn't give immediate results, remember that this is a long-term strategy. The challenge lies in stepping back and resisting the urge to do too much at once. When you've planted these seeds, let them breathe. Give them space. Resist the temptation to follow up or seek instant validation. The power comes in the waiting. They'll start to think back on those small moments, realizing just how much you've impacted them in subtle ways. Once those seeds start to grow, they will begin to crave more of the connection you've planted. Think of this like tending to a garden. You don't stand over the soil, watching every second, waiting for something to sprout. You plant the seed, water it, and then let nature take its course. The same applies in relationships. If you're always there, constantly trying to force growth, it won't happen. But if you plant the seed and give it time, it will flourish, often when you least expect it. In practical terms, this might look like sending a text that's not just routine, but thoughtful. It could be about something personal that shows you're paying attention. But instead of bombarding them with more messages, you step back. At first, they enjoy it, but over time, it becomes routine, even boring. What if you stopped? What if you only messaged them occasionally, leaving them to wonder about you in the in-between moments? They'd miss the connection and crave more of it. Think of the moon. Its beauty lies in the fact that it doesn't appear every night. It's the absence that makes it so mesmerizing. When it finally shines, it's special. This is how you create longing, by showing up less, but making it count when you do. People crave what's rare. So step back, embrace your worth, and let them chase the moon. You are the one they can't live without. If this resonates, it's time to step into your power. Be like the moon, not the sun, and watch as they crave your light from afar. Let them think about what you said. Let the impact settle in their mind. Over time, those seeds of connection become more meaningful, more valuable. And when you're not constantly around to water them, they'll start to miss the way you made them feel. That's when they'll reach out, craving more of what you bring to their life. Don't underestimate the power of planting seeds. You don't need to overwhelm someone with attention to be unforgettable. By planting small, meaningful moments and allowing them to grow naturally, you make them crave your presence in a deeper, more genuine way. The key is to give them just enough, then pull back. Let those seeds take root, and soon enough, they'll realize how much they miss the unique way you touch their life. Be like the moon, not the sun. Imagine the sky at night when the moon rises. It grabs your attention, casting a soft, mysterious glow that captivates everyone who sees it. You don't need to be like the sun, always shining, always present. Instead, be like the moon. Show up in moments that matter, and when you do, make your presence unforgettable. The power of subtlety is often underestimated. If you're always around, like the sun that never fades, people become used to you. They stop appreciating your presence because it's predictable. But when you appear only at special times, like the moon, they'll crave you more because they never know when they'll get to see you again. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." This means that time and attention are precious, and how you spend them shapes your value in the eyes of others. In relationships, don't waste your energy by always being there, always giving. Instead, pull back. Make them notice your absence so that when you do show up, it feels meaningful. A relationship example. Imagine you're constantly texting someone, always available for their calls.